What's up, everyone? We are Gear 5 Gaming here with our very first YouTube video. It's a brand new channel dedicated to looking at the competitive side of One Piece card game. With me, I have my friend Alchemist, and today we're going to be doing our very first video. We're calling it Meta Mondays, where we just go over the previous results from the weekend's tournaments. Alchemist, do you want to go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is the leader spread for this weekend. We had a tournament in Pasadena with 512 players, 9 rounds, and it looks like Whitebeard is now the most represented deck in the format, which has been previously held basically the entire meta by Zorro. So, what do you think about that, Boris?
I think I was talking to a friend earlier today. They're trying to get into One Piece, and they're talking about, oh, so what deck should I play? And I mentioned, well, there's still, Whitebeard's still a strong deck, and he was surprised because he had heard that there were some bannings or some limiting of some cards, and he was surprised that Whitebeard was still really good. And I told him, yeah, it's actually still one of the most played decks, and it's like winning like almost every event. Um, you know, and I try to hit it, but I think this was one of the last tournaments for set three. We obviously saw that it kind of ended at the top. Now you did mention Alchemist that it is probably the most played deck. I think is what you're saying. So
Yeah.
part of it has to do with that. You know, the more players there are on the deck, the higher the chance of it winning, the higher the chance of it topping. But I think just based on the fact that it keeps winning, it keeps edging out Zorro. Zorro, I think, and this one we haven't really seen in the past few weeks. We haven't seen as many Zorros as Whitebeard recently, so I think there's something about Whitebeard. It's just a strong deck.
Yeah, and the fact that there's lower amount of Zoros definitely helps Whitebeard finish out these long runs where they're just winning game after game. Um, as you can see, Katakuri is tied for the third most represented deck, which is just we're so free for Whitebeard. So a lot of these decks, Whitebeard just runs over, and it seems that the majority of the Zoro players either aren't able to close out their games in an efficient way or just aren't seeing their cards and able to take out these Zoros. But that being said, we did have 14 smokers, which is also worth noting, and we always have our same batch of 22 kids. But that being said, we're gonna jump into our number one Kevin Zhao list here.
Now I
And
did get to watch a few of the. I don't know if you got to watch some of the stream, but I was watching Kevin play. He playing really well. I was really impressed. I know some people say Whitebeard, there's not that much skill involved in it. I think definitely in the early games, in the early turns, obviously you're gonna play your four drop if you're on four, your six drop if you're on six. But I think um, I think as kind of the game goes into the end game, that's definitely where that one dawn that you leave up or that one K extra you attacked earlier on, it could make a huge difference. So I think if you guys don't know, Alchemist is a regional winner with Whitebeard, so you know a lot more about the deck than I do. But what do you think about this build? And is there anything that kind of caught your eye, or is this kind of just a standard build?
so this guy believes in the heart of the cards because he is not running Whitebeard Pirates. He is seeing his game consists of the cards he sees out of the first 20. You know what I mean? This guy's never going to see his whole deck. He says everything's going to be in the top half and I'm going to win, and he does it. I think it's a good call in a high roll meta. It's an ultra powerful version of it because you're never really bricking because basically all your cards have counter. Um, and
I think
it's
that's the
a
first time I've seen the Beppo, right? I haven't seen anybody run
Okay,
the
so I was gonna mention that to you. This
2K.
is always just
Yeah.
like a cheeky pick in pure Whitebeard because technically this slot will never be a searchable 2K. So you always just put it in whatever. So you didn't. He's a contrarian, you know. He didn't want to play the Mastus. He didn't want to play the Sanji. He said, "I'll play Beppo," which I would guarantee that he never played this one time.
By the way, quick shout out for so with set five drops. There's gonna be a lot of hard pirate support. So I'm assuming this Beppo is hard pirate. So make sure to pick up your copies before set five. But Yeah, I
So
think this is a interesting build. Like you mentioned, no Whitebeard Pirates. I think that's always a weird card because Whitebeard is so restrictive on what their turns can do. Like Ace costs 7, what the 9 drop is 9. So sometimes it's hard to find that extra 1 Dawn to use during your turn. And if you don't hit it off trigger, it can just get stuck in your hand until the late game. But I don't know. Again, if I was playing Whitebeard, and again I'm not really a Whitebeard player, but I think I'd want the searchers, but I'm sure there was a reason why he wasn't using them. So
obviously not necessary. It's just a safety net at the end of the day. And this guy, like I said, went full greed. I don't need a safety net. We're going full power.
yeah,
So
it is an event searcher, which if you do whiff with an event searcher, then you essentially lost the card. Now there's
yeah,
no way you whiff in this deck, right?
no.
I mean that's like 1 in a 100 chance of whiffing, but yeah.
So congratulations to Kevin for taking it down. Um, just quick mention to Brandon's second place list. He went with, let's get to it, 2 Whitebeard Pirates. And the thing worth mentioning here is the Haruta, which even when I think about it, I can't think of necessarily what this card does, in the matchup. Like maybe it's just good for just pumping down even more like
Yeah, Haruta's
power, but
interesting. It's
I would have
it's
to
kind of
ask him.
weird.
I would have to ask him. Like,
Yeah, something where we have to ask him is, especially, and it's what, 2, right? Only 2 Harutas.
yeah, he cut like a Whitebeard
So
Pirates for one, and then added like a King Do. So,
yeah, so Haruta, I mean, it's an
eh,
interesting card, right? It's a 2 drop. So ideally, if you can drop it on your first turn, if you're going second, it can generate you a lot of extra Dawn during the game. Uh, which in Whitebeard, maybe you could help chip away a little bit easier. It does a 3K, so it dies to Marco, which there's a lot of Marco right now. Zorro and Whitebeard being the 2 biggest decks. Their main threats are kind of Marco, so
yeah,
it'll just die to that. But you're right. I mean, there has to be some reason he's running it. So
I guess I would have to
uh,
ask him. I truly cannot think of a reason to not just run more big guys, like just like another Thatch or like another King Do or something. But maybe he really wants something to do going first,
yeah, the
or
kind of
second.
the what I'm kind of thinking about is potentially the King Dues that he's running.
Hmm.
So it could help move the King Do up to an 8K, which is a magic number, versus Whitebeard. Um, Other than that, though, I guess it also that maybe helps with Ace. On the Ace turn, you get an extra Dawn, put somewhere in, get another 7K attack in. And it is where I can see it again. It does die to Marco in the Zorro match against the Zorro matchup, but against the Zorro matchup, you also kind of need small guys to contest, their early Namis, the Dons, things like that. It is a slasher, so unfortunately, it doesn't it doesn't hit buggy. Um, but if you just need like a turn 1 play to kind of contest and prevent your opponent from going all out with all their small guys, it can be, and then it's a 1K counter if you get off a search.
Maybe it's just
So
bait. Maybe it's just bait. Like he just, they want to kill it and they waste their dawn killing it or something. Like, but
yeah, yeah. So I mean, if your opponent's going second, if they're on 6 Dawn, they can either play a Marco to kill it, or they can play Thatch. I think you probably prefer them to play Marco. So I don't know.
all right, let's move on to our Zorro list. We got David here with Zorro. I can't remember if this is Jackson's list or Cross's list, but it looks pretty similar, give or take a few cards like 3 Rush Zorro, um, 1 Magra. Like, I guess I could go check out which list it is specifically, but this is definitely just a version of what's been the most successful Zorro so far, which is
Only
you
one Gordon. Only
only
one
one
Gordon.
Gordon.
I
Well,
think that's where people have been debating as to the different builds. Like, how many Gordon do I play? I think some people. I think Jackson likes playing one Gordon. He says he doesn't like having more than one in his hand. Um,
I
I
can
don't
look
know.
into it really quick here. Let's look into it
I'm a
really.
kid player, so like, once I see them use that first Gordon, I'm hoping that's the only one. Um, so,
Well,
but
the minus
I mean,
effect is definitely where it's at. Running Flamenco
yeah, Blamenco is scary.
and
Like, if you let that thing live, uh,
running
it's
Flamenco.
just gonna be a hard time.
Yeah, being able to minus stuff, being able to kill stuff with your Marcos, and closing the game out with Fiery Doll. Basically, I would say that this Zorro is most suited to kill Whitebeard. This absolutely
Yeah,
dominates Whitebeard the way this build is.
and in just playing the Rush Zoro, I know there was some, some thought about cutting Rush Zoro a few weeks ago after Gen Con. You want all you guys to have value right away. Sometimes if your opponent has an empty board or something, then the Zoro you just have to play it out and let it stand, which is doesn't the best feeling. Um, so just seeing that people going back to playing Rush Zoro, uh, I can see that having just additional threat. I think again this deck kind of relies on just getting that Marco as well, the 5 cost Marco, and just kind of winning on the back of that. So I don't know. They are playing the Jambe, they're playing the Fiery Dolls. I think that's kind of standard at this point.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very strong.
so yeah, I don't know.
I think
Zoro
it's
is a deck that I just refuse to play. I
yeah,
always prefer to just counter it, but yeah,
definitely. So with the minus effects, you're just gonna be able to clear board really easily. It's just good old fashioned play all your searchers, kill them with small swings, end the game with a big swing at the end. So I guess here this is the most optimized we're gonna have it at the end of the meta with not many tournaments left. This is pretty much where it's gonna sit. This is the final build. If anybody's trying to run Zorro,
yeah,
this is pretty much what
yeah,
it has to look like to do successful
yeah. A
in the
few
meta.
flex slots here or there, but for the most part, I think the shell is pretty much determined at this point. So
Yep. Um, so let's look at our fourth place list. I accidentally clicked off of it. Let's go back.
fourth place, I think
We got
it was
Nikki Goldman with Law.
yeah, guys on a tear recently, just
Yep.
hopping every event. So
This guy did amazing at Orlando the week before as well with a very similar build. Things to note here, the two restand law, pretty sure he's the only guy doing that. And in a interview he had, he basically believes this is the correct answer. I'm not a law aficionado, so I would trust the guy. But
he's the anti Film Brook guy, right? He doesn't like Film Brook.
yeah, definitely. And I think after all the testing throughout the format, he ended up being right. Stonebrook is not the way.
Yeah, there were a lot of people testing out Film Brook this set. And Sunny. Actually, I thought people would stop playing Sunny, but I think he's been liking just having those 2 copies in there. So even though it doesn't give you any value, I think just having again 3K body, 1 cost, able to contest the buggies and stuff like that in Zorro, it's not bad. And of course, searchable by Nami. So
And we got our Rush Luffy, which is amazing into this meta. You can just play it standing and get double 14K unblockable.
I think I did watch him on stream one of the games. I don't remember what he was playing against. But I remember him kind of bricking. Actually, it was
Yeah.
not a very very good, like really bad hand. But he like at one point I thought like he was about to like turn the tables and he almost brought it back. I think he was like just missing a no Bonnie or something like that. I don't remember. I have to rewatch it, but I was just like wow, like I was really impressed by how he played with the hand that he got and almost bringing it back. I think that's the scary thing about Law and why there's always like a few that are always at the top is because it's the players that know how to play those brick hands. Um, it's insane. Like he was bouncing like he had like no searchers left, so he like bouncing Otama, not playing anything, recasting that or recasting something else, and he kept using Law's ability without actually getting too much value, but it was just enough to be able to keep him in the game. I believe he lost that round on stream. I don't remember, but yeah, I was really impressed by how he played that. So
Well, everything I've heard about, I don't have not met him personally, but everything I've heard about him has been the guy is a beast at the game and a beast with law, and definitely trying to give Thomas a run for his money for best law NA. Like,
yeah, yeah, and Law's gonna be good in set four. I think so. I think he's actually in a good position to kind of hit the ground running on the next set. So
it's actually going to be ridiculous. All he has to do is learn a new meta. All the law players have to do is learn the new meta and
yeah, yeah,
same tools. like give or take 6 cards, and you're just playing the same leader for another 3 months. So, moving on, our next notable, we got Tommy V in 11th. This guy is on the front page of Limitless, one of the best Whitebeard players out there. So we got Tommy taking it down again with a hybrid.
Oh, it's a
Got
hybrid. Okay.
yep. Uh,
Hybrid version.
Pretty standard. Playing 5 blockers. He's not everybody's given up on Chopper at this point, which is good to see. Chopper is not the move. But the
Oh,
guys,
interesting. I didn't realize that. They're taking out the choppers. Four
yeah,
bosses though. 4 bosses is a lot. Yeah. And also 4 Sanjis. So yeah, just and the one up Usopp. You can play that Treasure Cup Usopp if you have it. I'm sure he has one. So
the
um,
Treasure Cup Usopp. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's
you
true. I
could
wonder
actually
if he
play
was
it.
flexing that.
Yeah, I saw somebody flex. I don't remember where it was. I think it was this weekend. I saw somebody flexing it, but one thatch, only one thatch.
This is insane to me, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
but I mean, I know there's been a lot of people pushing for the hybrid version recently, so um, very, very, it's a little bit more of an aggressive side with the Luffy's. It can kind of just pressure you super quickly, so definitely would not underestimate this one. And Red Hawk putting in work. I'm sure by end of set 3, people are still getting hit by that card. So um, wait, is that for Red Hawk?
Yeah, he's
I just
maxing
realized.
out Red Hawk as well. This
Oh
guy,
wow,
this guy was ready to kill
wow.
all the
I'm sure he
wings.
got a few people this weekend with that card. Because people
Yeah,
still don't play around it. They still refuse to play around it. So
and the card is really good into law too. So he's
yeah, actually, yeah.
so congratulations to Tommy for even racking up more points and staying on that front page of Limitless. Um, Next, we had something that you pointed out, Boris. We got our 14th place.
Yeah, Tsac. I believe he's a legend from the early Yu-Gi-Oh days. Back in 2007, 2008. Um, was one of the dominant teams at the time. So assuming it's the same person, same name, it's cool to see. You know, One Piece. Kind of. I've seen like people from Pokemon, people from Yu-Gi-Oh. I've seen people from all the different games coming over to One Piece, which I think is a good sign. I think it means that the game is competitive enough, and the prizes are actually good enough to attract other competitive players. I've also met some people who have won YCSs from Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that that are interested in the game. So I remember when the game first came out, there was a question about is this game going to be even competitive because we saw a lot of vanilla cards, and we're like the game looks too simple. But as you start playing around with the Dawn system, you realize wow, this game is super skill intensive. There's a lot of lines you can do every turn, and I'm just glad to see more players coming over. So
And not to
yep.
mention that the pricing is really nice too. So is people are, that want to go full time playing cards or gravitate towards One Piece as well from other competitive scenes that may not give the same sort of chance at prize support that One Piece gives because the prizes are crazy.
Yeah, and interestingly, his list is look. I'm seeing 3 Rakuyos in there, so that's something I hadn't seen yet before. As well as going up to 3 Gordons, which as a kid player you don't want to see, but
Well, this
so
guy
triple
went very
Firefish, triple
custom.
Gordon.
He went
Yeah,
ultra custom with this. He pretty much did full Whitebeard engine, like
yeah, two
his
Harutas.
yeah. So you can tell this guy doesn't mind taking his list into his own hands, which is nice to see in the scene.
Yep.
All right, so next we got your favorite. We got a kid player that made it.
Yes. So this is Eustace Captain Kid, Supernova Control. I believe this was a YouTuber goes by the name of Wizard, I think. Uh,
Strongest
well,
Wizard. He's
Strongest
a
Wizard.
content creator on
Yeah,
YouTube.
content creators. So always cool to see content creators do well. This looks pretty similar to the list that I made in top 8 or top 16 at Orlando with. I think the one difference ended up being the cutting one of the extra eggs for Don Krieg, um, which is interesting. Definitely, when I was playing the deck, um, I wanted to have my one flex slot was that second extra egg. I used to be a Yamato, the 5 cost Yamato, and kind of the more I play the deck, I'm like, I really don't need this 5 cost Yamato in the deck. I feel like a lot of players try to rely too much on it, and that's what ends up actually being a detriment. So I tried like adding in a second X Drake just for a little bit of extra removal. People don't really expect it, and so the Krieg is does kind of the same role. It just doesn't have counter, which I'm like I already have a lot of non counters, but it is a huge attacker, and double attack it can definitely help close out games. So is that something that I would definitely like to try out? If I, of course, kind of the set's kind of over now, but overall,
Well,
I think just cool to see more people doing success with Kid. I think the deck is still super strong. I mean, I felt like I couldn't really lose to Whitebeard. And if Whitebeard's the number one played deck, it's a great deck to take into a tournament. I think it has a great Zorro matchup. Just starve them of cards and make sure. I mean, they really only have like Marcos as threats, like 5 cost Marcos. So if you can chip away their hand, get them down to 1, 2 cards in hand, they can't even attack with a Marco because you'll just take it out and then they have just their leader attacking every turn. Um, I think the main thing is he said he managed to dodge law, and I managed to dodge law. So if you if you feel lucky and you can, think about dodging law, then I think this is an amazing pick for a big tournament like this. So glad to see more kid players doing well.
congratulations to Strongest Wizard for keeping the kid
It's not an
alive.
easy deck to pilot. I'll say it.
Well, he's a
It's
veteran, right? He's been playing since
yeah,
the beginning, right? So, like I've
yeah,
been telling other people, it's like kid's one of those decks too, where it's like you get that legacy skill actually comes into play. Where it's like if you played in OP01, or any kid in OP02 when Film Kid was good, then you're gonna have a leg up on the field because nobody has played any kid for months.
yeah. It's also kind of scary because it's a lot of times you want to take as much life as possible early on. So you have to be really comfortable playing like 1 to 0 life. But if you can do that, then it's a great pick, I think so. And it's probably not going to be good into set 4, but we'll see. Maybe we can make it work somehow.
That would be insane if the kid dreams still stayed alive.
Yeah.
Um, and our last notable thing on the list is we got our local bubble boy, Mr. Tech Fillet himself, with the Dopey Dream. And, this guy is amazing at getting top 32, I believe, right? That's his thing.
He's super consistent,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, like
yeah.
get it, and then always usually finishes X2. I've seen him before get really close to a serial Luffy. I think he was like 1 win away. And then this time he was also, I think, going into last round. If he would have won, I think I would have finished top 8. So, just kind of sad to see that. But at the same time, just always repping Dofi, never switching off it. A lot of respect for that, for sticking to a deck and kind of just trying to really be the master of it. I think, again, I did watch one of his games on stream. He played it really well. I think at a big tournament like this, a lot of players will make mistakes, and so a lot of times it's the player that doesn't make the mistake, or that is able to capitalize on those mistakes, that's able to take the game. And so, from what I could see, I mean, he played it super well. He knows the deck inside out, and yeah, just hopefully, he continues to do well with the deck. And I have seen people still playing Dofi in set 4 and set 5. So I mean, it's definitely a deck that's going to stick around. It might not be as powerful, or depending on how the meta plays out, some some portions of the set 4 or 5, it might not be too powerful. But if the meta shifts in one direction, you could definitely see it come out of nowhere. So, yeah, congrats on the top, on almost top 16, really close to that. So
Yep. And I'll be excited to see what he decides to play in set by 4 because
set 4,
word
yeah.
on the street is that he might play Queen. So this
Oh,
might
really?
be one of
Okay,
the last
okay.
tournaments that we see the Doflamingo out and about. So it's good to see it get one more big rep and a nice finish.
I think he's sticking to blue though, right?
Yeah,
Queen is
definitely.
blue,
I don't
so he
think
probably has to stick to blue somehow.
I would be
Whether that's
surprised.
Crocodile, Dofi, or Queen, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I would be surprised if he ever came off of the blue train. So our last item to bring up is that there was a tournament in the EU, and that was also won by Whitebeard, by Mateo. And the only thing that is abnormal in this list is we have a third place Magellan list, which is
Yep.
pretty insane to see. It was only a 371 player tournament, but it is interesting to see how Magellan could be placed very well into the meta because it does counter Whitebeard.
It counters a lot of stuff actually. I think just because a lot of decks aren't prepared for that -1 Dawn. So for example, Katakuri, they might be ready, on 8 Dawn, they have their Katakuri ready, and they have their 10 drop ready or 10, and then the guy just goes Magellan, and then you're just, oh, I'm set back a whole turn. Um, I think right now, because of the way the game works, there's a lot of boss monsters. And so if you can just keep your opponent off their boss monsters, you're pretty much, and you're comfortable playing on that low Dawn, you should be good. And then the fact that the Kaido, a 9 drop, I believe he takes out a 6K or less.
Yeah.
Or 6 cost or less, right? So there's not a lot of characters that do that. So and he has rush. So a lot of people, they're not ready for when the 9 drop comes to the board, and that's just a lot of damage to take out. And because you've minused on them, they might not have the resources to take this guy out, and you usually get at least 2 swings with him. So I really like Magellan. I actually won a local with him before. It's a lot of fun. And I kind of wish I would have kind of tried him out at a big tournament. I think he could be a really good pick, but I believe this guy went 8-0. I think this person went undefeated the first day. And then I think they made it deep into the top cut on the second day, and I think they even finished top 4. So
Well,
congrats! Always cool to see a fun deck like this make it to the top.
yep, Andreas, the crazy guy that's willing to put Magellan and take it all the way to third. Um, well, that's gonna do it for us here at Gear 5 Gaming. Is there anything
Yeah,
else you
hopefully you
want to
guys
add?
enjoyed. No, just hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's the first one on the channel. We're gonna be bringing some more kind of more competitive focused content. So if you guys are interested in these breakdowns, we're gonna try to do one every time there's a big tournament, and look out for more content in the future. So thank you very much for watching this first video. And with that, thanks for watching. Peace.
Peace.